Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Drapers Connects. My name is Graham Moran, and I am the Associate Editor of Drapers. Drapers Connects is our series of online events that aim to bring the fashion industry together via Q&A discussions, panel talks, and live webinars such as this. So thank you to our live audience for joining us. In partnership with Cegid, today we'll be discussing how to empower store teams and prepare for the peak trading period with Mountain Warehouse and the White Company. Thank you very much to our panel for joining us. Let's kick off with some introductions. Debbie, why don't we start with you?
Hello everyone. My name is Debbie Kitchen. I'm the Senior Retail Operations Manager at the White Company. We currently have 72 stores, one about to relocate and one new one that we have got coming before Christmas that we are aware of.
Excellent. Jason, on to you.
Hi everyone, my name's Jason. I work at Mountain Warehouse and Animal. I've been here for 6 years now. My role is the Retail Communications Executive, which means I'm responsible for communication tasking, which goes out to our stores globally. I say globally as we now have nearly 400 stores in 11 different countries. We have stores across countries in the UK, Europe, North America, New Zealand, and we've just launched in Australia as well. Our first 2 stores open this year, with a further 2 stores opening in the coming months. We're a fashion retailer specialising in seasonal and outdoor clothing and equipment across both our brands.
Excellent. Thank you, Jason. Jack, over to you. Could you introduce yourself and also give us an introduction to Cegid?
Yeah, hi everyone. My name's Jack. I work for Cegid. My role is I'm the head of customer onboarding, specifically for our Cegid Retail Store Excellence platform. The Cegid Retail Store Excellence platform is a retail operations, communications, and task management platform designed for retailers across a number of different industries, including fashion retail. We support many of our customers, many of our retailers with areas such as store team engagement, activity planning, learning management. And we have a key goal within the business is to help all of our clients and retailers transform their retail operations and improve their in-store efficiencies. We like to work with all of our customers in helping them boost their productivity in stores, empower their store teams across their entire store estate, improve their operational compliance, and help deliver that consistent brand experience to your customers.
Excellent. Thank you, Jack. Lots of things we'll cover there. So if you guys are watching live, please feel free to send questions via Zoom's Q&A function, and we'll do our best for our panel to answer those questions throughout and or at the end. So let's get into it. Last month, Drapers launched our Connected Consumer Report, which is an annual report that we put together that features a survey of 2,000 UK shoppers. One of the biggest questions we ask is how customers prefer to shop. And this year, like many years, but particularly this year, at number 1, with 39% of the votes, was bricks and mortar stores. So to us, that makes it very clear that traditional shops remain a key part of any successful strategy, but particularly as we start to prepare for the Golden Quarter, Christmas, festive season. In preparing for this session, we talked a lot about stores, and particularly this phrase kept coming up. I think you mentioned it in your introduction, Jack, store excellence. I wanted to start by asking the panel, what does that mean? What is store excellence in today's kind of omni-channel and digital world where while shoppers say they prefer stores, they still love online, they still love digital, and there is this sort of multi-channel approach. Debbie, why don't we once again start with you? Oh, I think you might be on mute, Debbie.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, sorry. So I think for me, it's quite simple. I think it's about creating a seamless experience for our customers. So no matter what they get online, they get a similar or mirrored experience in our stores. And the same for the teams, because I think it's really easy to operate as two kind of different entities sometimes, but it's making sure that the teams have got everything they need to do, that if a customer comes in who traditionally shops online, that they can support and give them that great experience and everything they're looking for, but also in reverse, that if it's going in the other direction, that we're also supporting our online team with the information and the things that we're doing in retail to support that online journey if the customer goes through in a different direction.
Jason, what about you? As you mentioned, was it 400 stores? That's a lot of stores around the world. What is store excellence to you?
No, absolutely. I mirror what Debbie was saying as well. So we have our online platforms, of course, and globally it's a bit more difficult because we deal with different seasons as well. But the growth of online retail has definitely had a very visible effect on not only our high streets, but the retail parks. What we really concentrate on is the communication and everything we send to our stores. So sometimes we'll have different offers online that we do have in store. So how we communicate that to the store teams is really, really important to us, and we offer things like price match as well. But in terms of customer expectations, they've changed a lot in the past few years. So we really need our bricks and mortar stores to stand out. So we need to impress the customer with the standards and maintain the good availability in stores. As Debbie said, with offering the same products in store as we offer online, or if we don't have the space in store, that we have an easy process to be able to get that product from either a different store or order it to the house for the customer. So we need to make the best of both worlds in our stores to make sure that customers aren't missing out as well, and impress them in our stores.
Jack, onto you. You obviously work with many brands and retailers. What are you seeing in terms of what store excellence means in 2024?
Yeah, I think store excellence, it's a wide term, but when we think about it, in terms of the store experience for our consumers, when we think about it with omni-channel, the digital world, how our consumers take in social media and like how they interact with the different brands, having simplified store processes that save time, improve productivity, help protect your sales assistant sales hours on the shop floor. When it comes to processes, and when you think from an omni-channel point of view, online sales are in your stores, right? A lot of people now have, multi-sale POS where they can do online transactions and in-store transactions through the till point. We have click and collect, order in store, like all of these different terms and processes that fit within the omni-channel umbrella are really, really important, and making sure that the stores are set up to handle and manage each of those processes is important to help with your efficiencies and save time for your store teams at the end of the day. It's also about that consistent brand experience. Your consumer will often have gone onto your website, they might follow you on social media, they can see all of the marketing activity and all of the product that you're displaying on these various different channels. How do you ensure that that brand experience is consistent when they walk through the door, and they can live and they can breathe your brand through your product and your experiences with your sales assistants?
Excellent, thank you, Jack. We've talked about store excellence, and we've made it sound very easy, but of course it's not, and there are lots of challenges at the moment for retail, whether that's cost of living crisis or more concerning issues like rising retail crime. So I wanted to not to start on a negative note, but to kind of share and discuss some of the challenges that the panel is facing. Debbie, what is happening? What's keeping you up at night?
Well, I'm probably just going to echo a bit what Jason was saying around managing the customers' expectations, because I think their customers are now so used across different platforms, and the product being available to them, whether it's click and collect in a store or collect from another store or come to home or whatever. And I think it's managing that expectation, and especially when you've got high footfall, because we're a big gifting retailer, and our footfall at Christmas is really it's high. So it's managing all of that and being able to give the customer that's in front of you that amazing service that they're expecting as well. You're on mute, Graham.
Sorry, Jason. On to you. What is the challenge for Mountain Warehouse now?
Yeah, so I think the cost of living crisis has meant that customers' shopping habits have definitely changed. We're a very seasonal business at Mountain Warehouse, so we often use, or we always use last year's performance to judge how we will perform in the same months of the current financial year. So our biggest challenge has been that we have not been able to judge that as effectively, because if customers do not have the same disposable income as before, then they will spend less. So we've had to do things quite a bit differently over the past year, be much more reactive than proactive with our offers, seasonal events, and what we buy in for stores. And what's important for that is, we've moved a lot of our processes digitally now. So we do use the Store Excellence platform supplied by Cegid. So we need to be able to quickly send instructions to our stores to accommodate current trade. So we use that platform to create tasks, ask for photos, etc. So we can validate this quickly. And obviously by using that platform, it does save time for stores as well. And being able to action things as quickly as possible.
Jack, anything to add from your kind of overview?
Yeah, I think to kind of echo what Debbie and Jason both said, from my point of view, working in the onboarding team with Cegid Retail Store Excellence, we get to talk to our clients all the time and hear about their challenges. Similar to what Jason said around, we live in a very reactive time right now in retail, especially as you mentioned with cost of living crisis, etc. We have to be able to adapt very quickly, and we often ask our stores to do a lot of day-to-day tasks in order to adapt the ever-changing environment that's retail at the minute. I think some of the biggest challenges that we hear about are, retailers being able to communicate those changes, those updates, those reactive messages to each of their stores efficiently. Often they might communicate through a number of different channels where things might get lost or stores can't prioritize the tasks that are necessarily being sent to them. We also see with retail now, payroll, with the cost of living crisis and sales, payroll is a very protected asset within retail. Stores often working with less payroll than they might have done in previous years, and being able to measure how you can still be operationally compliant and still achieve those brand standards is really important. The third one, I think, is store team engagement and staff retention. I think that's a very big topic in retail at the minute, especially when it comes to sales associates we have in the stores. And retailers often find it hard to, struggle to implement a communication strategy where they can reach each of their sales assistants, from the store managers right down to the 4 hours a week Sunday employee. How do we bring every single employee along with us on the journey so that they can execute and share our brand vision with our customers? I think they're some of the main challenges that we've heard about over the recent year.
Jack. Today we're obviously, I've mentioned it a few times, talking about peak or golden quarter, which is obviously the busy run up to the festive season, and depending on your business, that could include Black Friday and Cyber Monday, obviously Christmas sales and Boxing Day sales. It might seem obvious, but I wanted to ask, why is being prepared for this so important to your business? I know, Jason, when we were preparing for this, we talked about preparing to prepare, which is even like a longer process. Could you tell us a bit about that, Jason?
Yeah, absolutely. So, so we believe that we can't be ready for peak unless our stores feel ready, and they need to tell us that they feel ready. So the decisions that we make and how we cascade them is crucial. Now, in the past, we have, sent out big Bible peak planning packs, a big PDF pack, and we've sent out multiple comms, which can sometimes get lost and confusing. So what we do now is we split our comms into two. So as Graham was saying, you do a bit get ready to plan, but we do two different bits of comms. We get ready for peak planning, which is the first bit, and peak planning. And we currently use the homepage builder on Store Excellence to do this. We started this last year, so it was interactive and could be easily accessed at any time. We call it the Peak Hub. It's a bit like a website. But the key for us is to get what we know and what we've made decisions on out to stores as soon as possible. So we may not know things such as delivery schedules, last stationery order dates, VM instructions until after we know other things such as budgeted hours, best practice, or store opening hours, which hence why we do the two different communications. So it still minimises the number of comms that we send out to avoid confusion, missed updates, etc. But it allows us to plan some aspects in earlier. So a lot of the non-trade stuff will be in that first pack, and then a lot of the trade stuff will be in that second pack. And as part of these two communications, there's clear broken down checklists for stores to complete so that they feel ready and prepared. And every year what we feel is really important is getting that store feedback as well. So for instance, last year's peak planning pack, we've got some feedback from stores this year to allow us to make things even better going into peak this year.
Great, thank you. Debbie, why is preparing so important? Obviously, you've touched on that increase in footfall. You need to be ready for that. Why is it so important to you to pre-plan?
I mean, we seem to spend, I think again, exactly what Jason was saying, is you kind of split it into two. I think we spend literally everything from the 2nd of January, really right the way through till kind of now, doing our preparing for peak from a central perspective. And only this morning, we kind of did our first cascade of kind of peak information to stores. So that's now starting to already talk about peak recruitment, because obviously you have to start that much earlier, and to get that, to get the best people in and recruited and trained, ready for when you really do need them to hit the shop floor. But also what we really like to do is just give everyone as much time to do things without having to do it under lots of pressure. So one of the things that we've done for a couple of years, probably about 3 or 4 years now, but has got better and has improved through using, sorry, I'm terrible for calling Store Excellence Store IQ. I'm a Store IQ girl. Store Excellence Store IQ. But using the checklist functionality in there to do, we do an open kind of checklist that runs throughout the whole of August, that allows stores to chip away at the actions they need to complete. They have 30 days. How they complete it is over to them. But what it does is it really allows them to start, getting something done and ready. And when we talked to them a couple of years ago, we said, well, is this all a bit old hat now? Do you feel confident enough to do it without it? And they're, no, we really like it. It makes us feel more organised as you move, to get to September and October, when it really starts getting busy from setting up your store and trade starts getting busier, that they feel they've already achieved something, rather than, oh my God, Christmas is coming. I've got 100 things to do. They feel like they've already achieved something, which is really, really important, as early and upfront as possible, to protect the teams, so that when the footfall does increase and the customers are there, that their focus is on the customer.
Thank you, Debbie. That kind of leads me really nicely onto my next question. I wondered if there was something that happened, or a learning from last peak that you've brought forward into your planning for this peak. Obviously, we're quite well timed, Debbie. You say you've just started that, the communications on that. Is there anything that you learned from last year that you've brought forward into 2024?
I think the thing that we are focusing on is improved communication and the timing of the communication. So we've always been mindful of what we do and when we do it. But one of the things that we are very good at as a team is being quite critical of what we do and making sure that we adhere to the promises that we said we keep. And with working with our team at Cegid, is that it's all well and good thinking you've done the right thing and you've sent your comms at the right thing, but they're very good at actually giving us the data that backs it up and tells us whether we've actually done that. And so for all the things that we think we're good at doing, perhaps not sending lots of comms in the afternoon, or never sending something on a Friday where possible, that data gives us all the information that we need to move forward. And actually sometimes whilst we've made a massive step forward, it could still be better, and that still then better protects the team. So for us, it's how can we look at what we're doing, any pre-planned comms, what can we get done pre-plan, get as much in before the store even opens trading, as early on in the day as possible, protect afternoons as much as we can. And then if there are things that are ad hoc, which there is going to be lots of, that we are then trying to keep that to a minimum. But also we did well last year. My team were brilliant at it. I say we, it was my team, was setting clear guardrails with our business and when it should be sent. And ultimately, we've got the authority within the platform to allow us comms to go out or not, and to use that and for my team to feel empowered that they can say no, to protect the store teams. And that did reflect in the store's feedback last year, that they thought we got that balance right. I just think we can go a step further this year.
Thank you, Debbie. Jason, what about you? Any lessons from last year or previous years that you're bringing forward?
Yeah, absolutely. So, our stores are really, really busy during the peak seasons. And, last year, like I said, as we discussed, was the first year we launched this peak hub on store excellence. And that was really embraced by our store teams. So we asked for feedback last year, and that's what we've worked on this year to launch it again. We do want to launch it earlier this year, as Debbie touched on. But we're also grouping with other head office departments. We already have grouped with them. We started really early, asking for their expertise and what they also think will work well on the hub this year. So we want to add to that. So we're asking for best practice from our store teams as well, and our field VMs linking to product knowledge training. So we've had a bit more time this year to think about what we want to do. And when we think about how busy stores are now, we want to make it quicker for stores. We started thinking about processes. So we've got processes on our knowledge base, which may not be looked at a lot outside of peak. So, one that I can think of is how to print a gift receipt. So we want to link them kind of processes to our peak hub, so it's easy for stores to get to, so they don't have to trawl through the whole knowledge base and articles. So it's processes like this that we also want to do quick link into from the hub for ease of access for our colleagues.
Excellent. I guess you kind of, as you say, you can forget about those things in between when there's less need for them throughout the year, and connecting the kind of relevant dots in peak will obviously save time. Yeah. Great. So let's now slightly referring back to some of the challenges we discussed, but I wanted to, and it has been touched on, but I really wanted to delve into the theme of communication, because obviously when you've got as many stores as both retailers do here, that can be tricky, particularly between head office and store staff. And as we've mentioned, all the different types of staff you have, whether they're just weekend staff, etc. This is relevant all the time, but particularly important during what is, for many, the busiest time of the year. Jack, could you give us some insight as to why you think it's so important that brands and retailers work to kind of bridge that gap and really streamline communication?
Yeah, definitely. I've seen a trend recently that I love. More and more retailers that we talk to have seemed they're rebranding head office or headquarters to support office, which I absolutely love that term, because if you think about everyone that works in our head office or our headquarters, buyers and merchandisers who ensure that the right stores get the right stock to hit their targets, VM support with sending out product guidelines to help drive sales and KPIs for stores, even loss prevention teams, providing policies and procedures to help stores with their profit and reduce stock loss. Everything that we do within the office environment is in support of our stores to make sure that they're set up, especially for a period like we're going into with peak. It's important to bridge that gap because stores, they're our frontline, right? They're delivering the brand experience to our customers. They're selling the incredible product that our designers are making. They're driving our profitability. They're engaging our team members. And it's important to bridge that gap to ensure that the business goals and the strategies that we have during certain periods, whether it's sale periods, peak period, promotional periods, are communicated with the stores effectively, that we monitor progress, we're shouting about successes in stores and in the business. We're also giving feedback where needed to help stores on their journey and help them achieve the goals that we're looking to do as a business. I think that's all important with bridging that gap. When it comes to peak planning, you know, Jason kind of alluded to it earlier, we can plan as much as we want. Our planning can be faultless. Our peak plan can be on time. It can be signed off. Everyone in the office can be super excited about the plan that we've put in place for peak and for stores. But if you don't communicate that plan effectively, will the stores be able to deliver it? You know, will they need more help than normal? Will you be bombarded with, you know, tickets from stores? And will we have supported the stores as best we can? So I think bridging the gap with effective communication, clear communication to the store teams, giving them as much support as possible from the office is important more than ever, especially in peak, to hit those plans that Debbie and Jason have spoken about.
Thank you, Jack. Debbie, what are, if any, the challenges when it comes to communication for the White Company, and how, importantly, are you overcoming them? What tactics do you have to streamline those communications?
I think it's what I was saying before. I think sometimes it's just the sheer volume of things that people want information on, and it's our job to cut that noise out for the teams and really look at what we need, what needs to go out versus what is a nice to go out. And I think what we've been working really closely with our comms and engagement team is looking at what are the comms that they're putting out. So if they're looking at things like talking about wellness or reward and recognition and all of the you know, those types of things that sit alongside and make Christmas, although, you know, the happy festive period that it is, that the comms that we're doing sit at the right time alongside those, because what you don't want to be doing is sending out really serious comms about a delivery situation if on workplace we're talking about something super happy and chatty and friendly. You know, we don't want to be, you know, you don't want to mix the messages, because sometimes the tone and of the severity of what might be happening in a situation could get lost, you know, kind of missed. So we're working really closely to make sure that where possible, obviously it's not always going to be possible to plan it, that one, we've planned, so we've got the right balance of comms going out. So we've got the fun and the nice stuff, as well as the more serious comms that you know, compliance type of comms, but also that we've got visibility that if we did need to pull something, that we can do that, because inevitably things go wrong. And I think it's, you know, you do need to give it you need to give that the right airspace, that sometimes to be able to communicate that, so people understand, that it gets communicated in the right way with the right weight behind it, I guess. And I guess that's just always going to be the challenge, is cutting out some of that noise, because there is sometimes so much of it. But thankfully, we've got pretty well practiced at it. But like I said before, we can do better for sure.
Thank you, Debbie. Jason, same question to you. How obviously we've spoken in prep for this about how once upon a time things were, you know, all over the place, phone, email, even paper sometimes, and back many years ago. What is your approach to these challenges?
Yeah, so I look after retail comms globally for us at MW. I say I because it is only me. There's no we. I wish there was. But I have WhatsApp, I have Teams, email, Store Excellence, and I'm sure that a lot of these will exist in most large businesses, as they do in people's everyday life. But just because they exist does not mean that we need to use them for all scenarios. So all messaging and tasking to go out to retail does come through me, and then I'll send it out to stores via the Store Excellence platform. So this allows stores to know, you know, where to expect it and be able to see it all in one place and manage it better. So it eliminates that contradicting messaging or that miscommunication that goes on various different platforms, because it can become very, very noisy. So it's very important as part of this role to gatekeep what goes out to stores, so we can manage the workload and capacity also. So everything coming to me and then being sent through Store Excellence allows and supports this. It also minimises the risk of other departments emailing stores with information and tasking, which you'd never get to know about otherwise because you can't see everyone's email inbox. So being on Store Excellence, it's fully visible. You can see everything that's going out. Now, even with the platform, you don't have to be that micromanaging. So Store Excellence allows you to allocate comms drafters to different departments in head office, so they could write the comms, but it does not go out to stores unless an authorizer approves it. So this again helps gatekeep and stop stores getting things sent to them through multiple avenues. And let's be honest, the more places that stores need to check for information, the more time it takes, and then the more room for error there is.
Excellent. Jason, you mentioned tasks and task tracking, I guess, is a part of that. How, with all these different stores around the world, how are you sort of tackling the challenge of task tracking? That's a lot of T. Tackling the challenge of task tracking.
No, of course. So, yeah, we do have to monitor, the tasking that goes out to stores, and it's again what I touched on before. It's important that we don't send too much at once, and we can see it all in one platform. So, Store Excellence, it allows us to validate and measure compliance remotely. So we can see when a store has flagged a task, for instance. So we send a task out to stores. They can flag it. They can ask a question. They can leave a comment, and it gives us the full visibility. Not only who has completed the task, but also how long it may have taken them through commentary and any challenges or obstacles to that task. So we can learn from that. If we think that a task has taken a store longer than what we originally thought it would do, we can see that, and we can know that for next time. So it's a learning curve as well. We also use a store planner facility, which gives stores a heads up on very proactive tasks over the next, probably the next 6 months, to be honest. So it allows them, we ask them to do 4 weeks forwards in advance, so it allows them to plan and prepare on there as well. Now, things do change, and we have to remove stuff or we have to send out ad hoc stuff, but it does give the stores a good visibility of what's coming up and what they may need to prepare for down the line.
Thank you, Jason. Debbie, you mentioned earlier that your stores kind of love the organization of having those lists and those, accountabilities. How has that changed, especially in the run up to Christmas when there's lots more things going on? How has that changed how kind of the efficiency of stores?
Sorry, I think my internet went there. Sorry, I heard the very beginning part of that. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I was just asking about how you mentioned earlier that your stores kind of people in store love the organization of having those checklists and this.
Yeah. I'm so sorry. I think my signal completely keeps dropping every time you talk. I'm so sorry.
Maybe we'll move on to another question. Jason, maybe we'll go to you whilst Debbie tries to reconnect. We touched on planning. What about things that you can't plan for, whether that's something ad hoc or a critical task or anything that comes up out of the blue, as things often do? How do you plan for the things you can't plan for?
So yeah, we do. When we plan for the weeks ahead, then we do leave some room for anything which may come down, because we know that things are going to happen. Things will change. It might be a trade decision, or something could be, there could be an important critical task set, so it needs to be moved to the shop floor, etc. So we do try and plan for that as best we can. Sometimes you'll get more than normal, so it's important that we prioritize these and be reactive as we can, because ad hoc things will always crop up. So we will relook if there's too much going on, and then we'll relook at the proactive tasks for that week, and we'll make the decision to move some things back if we need to accommodate the more pressing issues. And when we send stuff out on Store Excellence, so if there is something which is ad hoc or critical, when we send it out, we also consider the time of day and what has already gone out that day. So if the issue is critical and it needs immediate attention, then we will, of course, send it out straight away. But if it's something that's not so critical, but it needs doing that week, then we'll send to stores outside of peak hours, so likely before 10 a.m. in the morning or after 4 p.m. in the evening, and also on the day where the tasking is lighter. So we have, we use something called RAP, which is a retail activity planner, where we plot out for the year ahead, what's coming up, and then we'll leave room for, like I said, for things that come down, and we'll move things back if we need to.
Thank you. Just for everyone watching live, a reminder, if you have any questions for our panel, please send them in using the Q&A function, which I believe is at the bottom of the screen, and we'll do our best to cover them throughout or answer them at the end. Jack, I wanted to go back to a phrase you mentioned earlier, which is this concept of empowering store staff. What does that mean in this, we've mentioned already, in this kind of omni-channel world, and where stores are obviously so important, but there's also this idea of delivering the same messages across stores and across channels. What do you see as key to kind of the concept of empowering store staff?
Yeah, so one of my key contacts who works at PVH, he knows because I mention this all the time. He said a phrase to me a couple of years ago, and it stuck with me, and I'll never forget it. And he said that you can't deliver exceptional customer experience without an exceptional store associate experience. And that, that really hits home to you in retail. If your staff aren't engaged, if they're not trained, if they don't understand the values of the brand, how can they deliver that exceptional customer experience to everyone who walks through your doors, especially at peak when we're so busy? Some of the challenges that I think are faced around empowering store staff is about how do you give your store associates access to key information, whether it's, learning. Debbie mentioned, peak recruitment is one of the big things coming up over the next couple of months. How do you ensure that all of your staff are trained, that they understand the brand and the values of the brand? How do we ensure that our staff have the product knowledge in order to sell all of our incredible products to our customers that walk through the door? Do our sales associates know about all of the incentives or the business initiatives that we're running? Retailers often find it hard to communicate these, like, to each of the very individual employees. They often rely on their store managers to relay this information. Whereas using features like we have in Cegid Retail Store Excellence, our store team engagement newsfeed and our store team access allows them to do this more easily. There's two questions that I think everyone can kind of ask themselves who's on the webinar today. It's like, how do you bring sales associates along with you on your brand's journey? Everything that you're sharing on social with your customers, how are you also sharing that with your sales associates, and how do they use that to deliver that brand experience? The sales associates are the front line at the end of the day. They're the ones that are selling the product and talking to the customers every day. So we need to empower the store staff to ensure that they have the right tools and they have the right information to make them successful brand ambassadors when they talk to our customers, especially in peak. I think that's what it means to us. That's what I've heard from our clients. And yeah, that quote I had of you can't deliver an exceptional customer experience without an exceptional sales associate experience, I think is very powerful.
Definitely. I think that's super important for for many brands and retailers, but particularly both that we have on this panel, whether it's, explaining the wonderful cashmere at the White Company, or the technicalities of product at Mountain Warehouse. Jason, how do you help or empower your staff to have the knowledge to deliver the kind of best customer service that they can?
Yeah, so absolutely, we sell lots of different products. There's lots of different things for our colleagues to remember, from the waterproof ratings to the features of an extreme boot. Our products are quite specialist, so we need to be realistic, and nobody is going to remember all the different benefits and features of all our products in store from the top of their head. So we also don't have specialists in store for each department. Everyone works right across the store. So how we tackle this is mostly through technology. So quick ways for our colleagues to access resource through the in-store tablets or on the tills. We have a knowledge base on our Store Excellence platform, which people can link to articles quickly to find out the information. We also have the website, of course, where colleagues can refer to easily to see all the features and benefits of the products. This also shows the customers in store that we'll go and we'll research, and find out the answers to their questions, and open up the opportunity to have a conversation with them too. And we also have what we call kit picks on our e-learning platform, which are all about product knowledge. So if a new line comes into stores, then we will launch a kit pick, which is an e-learning presentation which tells the colleagues all about that product, and of course there's a little test at the end as well to just test that knowledge. But yeah, it's just to make sure that we've got the information there to easily access as well when the colleagues need it.
Yeah, thank you, Jason. Debbie, same question to you. I know for the White Company, that service in store is so important, and really having the kind of time to engage with customers, which is obviously tricky during busy periods. So how did the White Company tackle that?
So we've been focusing a lot this year on our customer journey and what that looks like, and I'm really trying to make sure that we offer a consistent experience at any time of the year, which obviously is much easier said than done. And it's about what we came to as you can't reinvent the wheel for customer service. What good customer service looks like, but what we have worked with is we've partnered with an external company, but we looked at it's not big gestures that customers are looking for. It's not lots of our time that they're necessarily looking for. There will always be that customer who comes in and they're looking for a new bed linen, who you could easily spend 2 hours with because they're going to do their whole house, which is amazing. But lots of time, especially at Christmas, people are coming in, and when it's busy, they want to get in and out just as quickly as well. So it's about what are those small touch points that we can make as a team, and it's not necessarily about one person giving that customer all of the customer service. It might be a bit of a relay race throughout the store, and how the stores can pass that baton on between the different departments and use each other, and not forgetting that kind of final touch point of closing the sale and that experience they get at the till point, whether that's that they want everything they've bought beautifully gift wrapped, the 50 candles that they may have come in and bought for gifts in their team, that they want them all individually bagged, etc. But how can we be chatty? How can we give them that lasting impression at the till point? So it's not one big thing, it's all those small things that we can do along the journey from walking in the door, that first impression, right the way through to that lasting impression as they leave.
You teed me up perfectly there. You mentioned that first impression, which obviously for most stores comes down to things like windows, visual merchandising, which, whilst very different, both brands and retailers on the panel are very good at that. And this is obviously something, again, it comes down to store teams. And again, is super important all year, but particularly at during the festive period. Jack, could you tell us a bit about how you're seeing brands and retailers kind of effectively visually merchandise their stores?
Yeah. With their, like you said, it's visual merchandising, and our products displays, our execution is important all year round as we move through the different seasons of the year. But specifically during peak and during the festive season, off the top of our heads, we can all reel off what's upcoming very soon, autumn launch, October half term, Black Friday, Christmas sale, gifting period. Like, these are all key visual merchandising events that will be happening over the next 3 to 4 months. And it's all about getting those details right the first time. The visual merchandising's key when it comes to the festive period, to ensure that when our stores are at the busiest, our best product is on display, our top selling product is on display, and that the stores are set up for success from a visual point of view. I think from what we see from retailers, it's really important that these are communicated effectively. Kind of what Jason and Debbie said around like peak planning is, do the stores have the visual merchandising guidelines with enough time to execute them? And secondly, are we giving feedback in time to the stores, maybe where they need to make any changes in particular? We work with a number of different retailers on visual merchandising projects. One of them that comes to mind is Salvatore Ferragamo, who, luxury retail is all about the detail, right? It's about getting that detail first time to ensure customers get the best experience. And they do an absolutely fantastic job of communicating their visual guidelines down through the platform. The stores all upload all of their pictures through the platform. You're talking sometimes 1,000, 2,000 photos that they get back from all of their stores globally. And they're able to review all of those pictures through the platform. They're able to give feedback directly on the photos through the platform for the stores to be able to make any changes if needed. Both Mountain Warehouse and White Company on the call today both use all of our visual merchandising features that we have within Store Excellence. And those features are built to support the store managers, that they can get their guidelines and they can efficiently and effectively read their guidelines, but also so that they can quickly, on their iPads in the store or their tablets, they can snap pictures of all of their displays to show head office and get feedback to see if there's any changes that need to be made. From a head office point of view, again, it's important to understand, how do you manage visual merchandising execution? Again, you can send guidelines down, but how do you know, Jason, if, for example, that 400 stores have all implemented the visual merchandising guidelines correctly? And having effective tools for your store managers to be able to quickly upload those pictures and get quick and effective feedback to help them improve ahead of the peak season before it's too late is really important. One of the other case studies we did with another customer, they said that previously, when they sent down a visual merchandising guideline, once they received all of their photos back, it would take them 2 weeks before they've reviewed all of the pictures and they've given all of their feedback. That's 2 weeks of potential lost sales, especially in peak. Now that same retailer can get all of their photos back and they can give all of their feedback within 3 days. So having those tools that allow you to manage your visual merchandising efficiently, not just creating your guidelines, but being able to give your stores feedback and view all of your photos, I think is hugely important and will help you optimize visual merchandising throughout peak.
Jack, both Jason and Debbie, I saw you nodding away there. Debbie, why don't we start with you? Obviously, we've spoken before about how much work does go into making your stores as beautiful and as similar as possible to kind of really have the same experience whatever store you go into. Do you have any advice or tricks or tips on how to kind of really make that work during the Christmas period?
I think probably just echoing so much of what Jack said is the ability with Store Excellence to get that consistency has been one of the big with Cegid. Before, I think exactly the same. Before we would have had, it would have taken hours. Things were flying around by WhatsApp. Photos flying around by WhatsApp. Some would be on pictures. We'd have area managers trying to get out to every single store to check a Christmas launch, and now we can do it quite seamlessly. So what's great is our BM team is so organised with everything that they do, that everything is already, I mean, it's already set up for Christmas. So we already know when we launch our seasons, when we know when they all launch. Christmas, we know exactly when it launches. It always launches right near my birthday. But it's already all set up in the system. There's already a plan in place for the area managers and our area VM managers to sit and review those guidelines and the photos that come back. And that's the biggest thing is using, if you've got the platform, use it to its absolute maximum, because there's so much power in it. And I think, again, to Jack's point, being able to give the teams feedback it makes such a difference, because they take such pride in what they're doing, and they feel they're so passionate about how because obviously I'm slightly biased, but our stores are beautiful, and they work so hard to make it seem like that. And to get that feedback and get that instant recognition it means a lot. So being able to star it and say that's this is what we want everyone to do, it makes a huge difference. So even from a motivational point of view, it's invaluable, as well as you start getting that consistency as well. So it's probably one of our most, well, we use everything in the platform, but it's definitely, without a doubt, one of our most used parts of the platform, without a doubt.
Thank you, Debbie. I've just realized we are nearly out of time, so I'm actually going to save that question from you, Jason, and go to some of our audience questions, just so we can get a few of them in. Debbie, you mentioned that using all the tools at your fingertips, and a couple of points have been made around using data. I think it was around, open rates and what time of days are best to send things. Somebody has asked around data insights and what sources of intelligence or what data you do use, or maybe, Jack, some examples of other people that they can use to really help with all the challenges that we've mentioned today. Would anybody like to take that one?
Yeah, well, we will look at obviously we look at we do look at customer data. And one of the things that we've recently looked at is, we do it through a number of different sources. And we will look at, one of the things that we look at very regularly as a team is FIFO. We've just moved actually over to Yotpo from a customer feedback perspective. So we will always use that in some of our planning. So we will go back and look at if we've had not such good feedback from customers over things. So probably not a massive surprise that when you're talking about peak, that some of the feedback that you get is around queue lengths. So one of the things we might do is take that feedback and look at just how big that's been, and then put that into something more operational that we might change and do differently this year. So things that we've done before is, particularly in some of our bigger stores, we've introduced queue managers on the back of some of that feedback. Obviously during COVID times, that was even more invaluable because the queues were bigger due to the capacities. But we will always use that. And another one that we've done recently is we've sort of looked at how our customers shop within our stores. So again, that can help us influence some of the things that we may do, influence the layouts, and how we help our customers shop.
Someone else has asked, how do you handle unexpected disruptions during peak periods, such as the incidents reported last week? So maybe if there's software outages or things aren't working, obviously you need to carry on. Anyone have any thoughts on that?
We had quite a big one last year. Our delivery company went into administration just as we were about to launch our Christmas delivery schedules. So we were on our off-peak delivery schedules, and due to change on the Sunday and on the Friday afternoon, we got confirmation that our carrier had gone into administration. And which you can probably imagine that when you're moving to manage it through 150 deliveries a week, and then how that ramps up to nearly 400, it became our biggest priority. And it really was about and in that moment was, what out there in the noise is there that we can cut? What do we need to stop? Who are the team that we need to communicate? So from my team's perspective, I was very much in the management of making decisions, etc. So I then needed to make sure that my team had all the information they needed, even though they may not be the experts in that arena, to be able to effectively communicate to the stores, to our area managers, to make sure that we kind of kept things as calm as we possibly could. And it was without a doubt a massive challenge, but we did survive. But it was a huge challenge.
And I think a lot of what we've talked about today, you do all the preparation in advance so that you can deal with things like that, because you don't need to worry about those things.
Absolutely.
We are very nearly out of time, so I'm going to kind of merge a couple of audience questions together into one for each of you, so that we can each end on a point. To kind of sum up everything that we've discussed today, could you give us one piece of advice for preparing your stores and your staff for peak? I'm just going to go with who's on my screen at the top. Jason, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, absolutely. Just look back to last year. I always find it's really good as well to remind stores of some of the positives again. Whether that could be pictures that you took last year during an event. It's good to remind stores and just get them to think about it. It's always great to look back, and try something different like we did last year with the hub. We did not know if it would work as previous years. We did things very differently to that, but it helped us a great deal. We got some great feedback from it this year. So sometimes just think a little bit out of the box, do something a bit different, think of something that's going to be, a bit fun for colleagues as well. We've bought a lot more fun stuff in the last few years. We've done things like the 12 days of Christmas, where there's a different challenge every day throughout the 12 days. One day it could be improving average transaction value, the best that did that. It could be the best that the biggest conversion uplift on one of the days, or one day it might just be a really fun one, like the best picture wearing Christmas jumpers, that kind of thing. So yeah, there's lots of different things that that we've done in the past few years, which has really helped us, and the colleagues have got really behind it, and it's definitely raised morale.
I love that. We sometimes forget that it should be a fun period as well as a successful period. Debbie, what about you?
I completely and utterly agree with looking back at your lessons learned, but I also think it's so much of what we talked about today is keeping it simple and starting early, because then it does allow, when something like what happened last year happened, and we certainly weren't alone in that, is that it mean a lot of our preparation had been done. So I wasn't worrying about having to set up our homepage or our peak cascades, because we'd already done all of those things. So it made it easier for the stores, but it also made it easier for me and my team to be able to be responsive when something like that happens, which proved absolutely more. You need to remind yourself that it is a fun time, and there is something really fun and amazing about being in a store and working in a store at Christmas.
Thank you, Debbie. Jack, over to you to finish us off. What is your big piece of advice?
It's always good going last because everyone always takes your ideas before you come on. But no, I think as we go through the peak planning period and we've got, one eye on peak now, I think just two things to take away is for everyone to think about. There's so many little details that we ask our stores and our store managers to get right during peak. So think about how you can effectively communicate those and how you can do it in such a way as improving your efficiencies for your store managers, saving them time at the end of the day so they can spend it with the customers on the shop floor. And the other one was just the piece that I've mentioned a number of different times today. How do you empower your sales associates? Because they are your frontline brand ambassadors. How do you get them up to speed with the journey that you're going on through the peak period? I think they're the two pieces of advice or questions that I think people should ask themselves during their peak planning.
Excellent, thank you. Thank you, Jack. And unfortunately, that is just in time. We're out of time. So thank you all for such an interesting conversation today. Thank you to our panel, our audience for joining us and for the questions you asked. Thank you, Jason, Debbie, and Jack. Thank you to Cegid, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.